Okay, so today we're going to demonstrate and explain two graphical representations based on y'all's input. And today we're going to look at TV watched in 1 week. So creating representations is a part of everyday life and is a part of doing statistics. And doing statistics has 4-step processes, which we're going to look at today as we do our graphical representations. So step 1 is formulating a question. Step 2 is collecting data. Step 3 is analyzing data, which is creating graphs or tallies or charts like we're going to show you today. And step 4 is interpreting results, which is tying it back to how it applies to the real world and how you use this in everyday life. So according to our data, we're going to ask some questions. And the first question we're going to ask is, what is the most common number of hours of TV watched each week by the students in this class? So it applies to your life. And this question that Beth Ann's going to explain is 3rd grade. Applies to 3rd grade based on vertical alignment chart.
Okay, so this first graph that we're looking at is a bar graph. Like she said, this usually starts in 3rd grade. You have the title up here, which pertains to the whole entire graph. So we have it as TV time because it was the amount of TV watched in a week. The y-axis right here is the hours of TV watched. And the x-axis down here is the students, and each number down here is a different student. On the side right here, this y-axis, or axis, gets skipped counts by 2, because that was the most common variable. And so what this is saying is that student 1 watched 14 hours of TV, student 2 watched 10 hours of TV, student 3 watched 9 hours of TV, student 4 watched 13 hours of TV. Student 5 watched 10 hours of TV. Student 6 also watched 10 hours of TV. So if you can see a pattern, 10 is so far our most common number of TV hours watched. Student 7 only watched 2 hours of TV. Student 8 watched 6. Student 9 watched 5. Student 10 watched 16, got a lot of time. And student 11 watched 9 hours of TV also. So that's pretty much the bar graph. It basically just tells you in a bar how much TV that each student watched.
Okay, so now that we've looked at the bar graph, we can see that the most common number of hours TV watched each week by students in this class was 10 hours. And so now we're going to look at a box and whisker plot, and the question we're going to ask for this is, what is the upper extreme for hours of TV watched a week in our class? And this applies to 6th grade according to the vertical alignment chart. And Stephanie will explain that.
Okay, so like she said, we're going to work with a box plot or a box and whisker plot. And these are just a good way to summarize large sets of data. So I have a data set up here, and before we can look at our actual plot that I've drawn up, we're going to start by ordering these numbers. So we have 11 numbers up here. We're going to start with, there's a 2, 4, 5, 8. And then from our last problem, we saw that there was 3 10s, and then a 12, 14. And I know that we had 11 up there, so I'm just going to make sure I have 11 in my ordered set. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now that I've ordered them, I wrote some steps that we're going to do next before we can show our actual box and whisker plot. So the first thing we're going to do is find the median of the entire set. So that's step 1. And since we had 11 terms, this worked out really well because we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our 6th term is going to be our median because we have 5 terms on each side. So 10 is our median. And then for step 2, find the median of the upper and then lower half. So now we'll start with the lower half. And we have 1, 2, 3. 5 is going to be our median because there's 2 terms on each side. And then for this one, it works out really well too because we have 5 terms again. So 12 is going to be our median because we have 2 on each side. So now that we've found that, step 3 is to find the upper and lower extremes, and this is kind of like finding our range. So the lower extreme is going to be our smallest number in the set, and that's 2. And then our upper extreme is going to be 16, because that's the largest one we have. So our next point is to plot these points on a number line, and we worked with number lines before. So I started out when I drew this by drawing a number line at the bottom of my poster, and I skip counted by 5s, and then drew little lines between just so that we could see where we were hitting them. And so we plotted these points on a number line. So I didn't plot them on there, but I plotted them above there. And we saw that 2 was our lower, so that one corresponds with 2. The next one was 5, which is our Q1, and this is our lower quartile. And so that was at 5. I plotted a point at 10 because that was our median, which is Q2. I plotted a point at 12. That was our Q3, which this is our upper quartile. And then our upper extreme was at 16. So I plotted a point right above 16. So after you plot those points above your number line, you're going to form a box with the middle 3 values. So all I did for this was I drew 3 vertical lines through the middle 3 points, and then I drew a box around it all. And then to complete the whiskers, you just draw a line to the lower and the upper extremes. And so our question for this was, what is the upper extreme for hours of TV watched a week in our class? And so we found it from this, but looking at it visually, we can see that our upper extreme was 16 hours a week for what someone watched in our class.
Okay, so now that we've looked at 2 graphical representations that applied to y'all's life, let's go back to this doing statistics process and look at the 4 steps that we just went over. So we formulated a question, and we based this off of y'all, and this was something that applies to me a lot, and we think it applied to you. We collected our data by going around the class on Monday and collecting everyone's data for these graphs. We analyzed our data by creating a bar graph and a box and whisker plot. And we interpreted our results by tying it back into how it applies to real life and how we can use it daily. Thank you.